Hi there. I'm Delia Lewis, and welcome to another edition of New, New Day, New Beginnings. Well, let's see. Today I'm going to talk about repetition. Okay? Repetition means the stuff we do over and over and over again. A stuff that we can't help ourselves. We just do. But that's why my title for today is Here We Go Again. And you know what? I've already been in that situation today. And I said, oh no, here we go again. You know why? Because I couldn't get on. But here I am. But I had to shut down and start all over again. So here we go again. So, how many times have you said those exact words? Uh, uh, especially if you have kids, especially with your kids. And well, I guess you kind of expect that. But you could have them with your kids, your spouse, your friends, at work, co workers. And yeah, even when you're trying to do good, sometimes it's just not working for you. What are we supposed to do? But now, you kind of expect it with the kids. Okay, I'll give them that. I expect that with the children. But what I don't expect is it to be part of my daily thing with adults. Now, you tell your kids the same thing. I do this, do that, um, the same thing you told them yesterday. So you're telling them again today, and you'll tell them again probably again tomorrow. But you don't look for that to be in your daily routine. Not with adults. Even your friends, your family, it doesn't matter. They're still adults and they're still acting wrong. But, a lot of times things happen and it's just kind of out of your control, but we expect the grown-ups to be a little better than your kids. But even sometimes in everyday life, we feel taken for granted or for just forgotten. They act like you don't exist. They're disrespectful at work. They just take advantage because they can. And sometimes you think to yourself, because I've thought to myself, I'm doing the best I can. I'm being kind. I'm being polite. I'm being everything you're supposed to be, considerate to, towards them. But you figure, well, why are they not doing the same for me? And where's the anger and the attitudes and where's all that coming from? You're trying to be the good guy and you're not getting anything for it. But as you sometimes when you're going to work, you get to the building and you're going in and you're thinking, uh-oh, well, here we go again. Let's see what's going to happen today. And it's just one thing after another. But we always think we're doing everything right. Well, I do. I think, well, I'm not I'm I'm trying to be nice, and I'm being patient and you're being tolerant and I don't know, but when even sometimes when you're in the will of God, you feel like it's just not happening. It's like you're losing your grip. It's like holding on to a weight, like when the guys are picking up the weights and all that, or even if you're doing weights in your hands. But after a while, just like a weight, it's like you just can't do it. I can't hold on much longer. Even the strongest person, even their will has a limit. Like let's look at Psalm 13, uh, verse 1, because now that was written by David even before he was king. It's Psalm 13, verse 1. And it says, how long wilt thou forget me, O Lord? forever? How long wilt thou hide thy face from me? And that's how you feel sometimes. Like, is God even paying attention to me? Sometimes you do feel forgotten, even by God, and not always because of others, because it could be because of your own circumstances, just stuff that's happening to you. And the simplest thing, and then this is all of us to an extent, take just taking care of your family. People are drowning in debt today. I mean, we're just trying to survive. I mean, you just trying to keep a roof over your head, or you have credit card debt. You're trying to take care of the kids, and I'll use my okay. I'll use myself as an example, not of today, but when I was a younger person, because I had to take care of my kids. I got divorced, and I've got my two girls, and it's just us. And so, of course, they're depending on who? Just me. So, and I had to do all these things myself. And I use me as an example because this is factual. Because back then, I had two jobs, two full-time jobs, because I had to keep the roof over our head, and I had to pay the bills, and I had to dress the children, and I had to do everything that was necessary for us to survive. And a lot of times I would wake up tired, and I would be thinking, Lord, have mercy. How much longer can I stay in this? Because it seemed like there was no end. But guess what? There wasn't, because this is what I had to do. This was my responsibility, and I couldn't pawn it off on anybody else. So I worked my two jobs, but so many times I would say, "Oh Lord, am I going to make it through this day? Am I going to make it through tomorrow? Will I be able to keep doing this?" So it was just always a battle for me. But when you work two jobs, it is a battle. I kid you not. It is a battle. But guess what? I kept saying every single day I would wake up and be tired. I would say, Lord, how much longer do I have to endure this? But you know what? No matter what I did not stop what I had to do. I worked two jobs from elementary school till they were out of high school. I did that. Two full-time jobs. But you know what? I always asked, how long, Lord? When? How long? And I never got an answer. But yet, I never stopped doing what I was doing until they were out of school, high school. I never stopped. And I think back now and I say, well, I used to pray for strength, because when I wake up, I'll be so tired. I was like, Lord, just give me strength to get through this day, and I'm thinking, just give me strength to do this, and give every day I was asking for strength for one thing or another every day. But that was my answer. I was praying every day for the strength, not realizing I kept saying when, but the whole time God was giving me the strength, the stamina, the determination, everything that I needed in all those years. That was my answer, but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that was my confirmation that I had done everything God wanted me to do. I didn't know it, but I never stopped doing it, and that was my answer. But now they're kind of grown. They're gone on their own way, and everybody's happy, enjoying themselves. So now I can smile again. Take a take a deep breath. You know, feel less stressful, and I do. I mean, that's always until something else comes along. And then what do we say? Oh gosh, here we go again. And I say that, when stuff is going wrong, or, you're just not where you feel you need to be at that time. But you know what? Here we go again is okay, because only this time it's the difference is that this time you can't take care of it. Let's say this time it's going on in your mind. So when it was work, all I had to do was work, 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 and I could take care of it. But let's say what happens this time, it's something you can't take care of physically, because this is in your mind. Now, think about this. Have you ever had a thought in your mind, a certain thought, and you say, "Oh, never mind. I'll worry about that tomorrow. I'll think about that later. I'm not even going to worry about that right now." And you kind of put it out of your mind, or so you think. You think you're putting it out of your mind, but nevertheless, it pops right back in your mind when you're not even really trying to think about it, but it's still following you everywhere you go without any solution and without any answer. Because now it's a mind thing. Now you're wrestling with your mind and your inner thoughts. And then you say, here we go again. Now, let's look at the same Psalm 13, but let's look at verse 2. He says, how long shall I counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long shall my enemies exult over me? Taking counsel means advice. So he's saying, Lord, how much longer do I have to take advice? I'm reading the word, I'm taking it into my soul. Your soul is your whole person, your mind, heart, body, and soul. And it says, why? How long will my enemies be exalted over me? Because your enemy could be anything, whatever's in your mind. And exalted means have power over you. So let's take a look at Samuel. I'm going to go to Samuel chapter 17, because now this is going to be referring back to David and Goliath time, because this was David. Now back then the Israelites, they were terrified of the Philistines because they had Goliath. And Goliath, he was super strong and he had the strength of 10 men. And I mean, he alone could almost fight off the Israeli army by himself. He was over 9 feet tall, twice as strong as 10 men, and had a thick brass helmet, and he had armor and all these weapons. And he was just towering over them, tormenting them. And the Israelites knew they didn't have a chance as long as Goliath was there. But David, he was young. He was still a young boy. But he was asking Saul, why is everybody so afraid of this Philistine? Because, see, even at a young age, David was a follower and a believer of God. And he was telling King Saul, he said, well, he was telling him how God had delivered him when he was fighting a lion. He fought off a lion that was attacking his sheep. He fought off a bear that was attacking his sheep. And he was telling him how the Lord had saved him from the paws of the lion and the paws of the bear when they were attacking his sheep, and how he killed them single-handedly. So he was begging Paul, let me, I can do this. I can do it. So Saul gave in to him. And he said, okay, you can go fight the Philistine. Because David was so insistent about his faith in God. So Saul gave him his blessing. And then David, he went and he got his staff and he took 5 stones with him and his slingshot. He had that in his hand. And now he's going down to meet Goliath. So let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 17. And let's go let's go to verse 44. Because now this is when David is down meeting up with Goliath. And the Philistine said to David, this is Goliath talking, he says, oh, come to me. I will give thy flesh unto the fowl of the air and the beasts of the field. But then David said to him, oh, yeah, well, you come to me with a sword and a spear and a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the army of Israel, whom you have defiled. Because all the time Goliath was always tormenting him. Where's your God now? How come you can't do this? And how come you can't do that? So he was always tormenting him. And David was telling him, this day will the Lord deliver you into my hands, and I will smite thee, and I will take your head from thee, and I will give the carcasses to the hosts of the Philistines this day unto the fowl of the air and to the wild beasts. And then all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And he went down. He went down and he did. He had his bag. Let's go to verse 49. It said, David put his hand in his bag and he took out 1 stone, just one. He took out 1 stone and he slang it at Goliath, and it stuck right in his forehead. Right, got him dead center in his forehead. And it sunk so deep that Goliath fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a slingshot and 1 stone. And there was no sword in the hand of David. So David did everything he was supposed to do. Now, let me ask you something. Ask yourself, what thoughts are you wrestling with? Because David was wrestling with the thought of, well, why are they so afraid? And I'm not afraid. And he was like boasting about his God. So, but his whole thing was a mindset, because he was focused on God, not the giant. So ask yourself, what are you wrestling with? Is it something from your past? Is it something you thought you had put behind you? I've had that happen to me. I'm thinking, well, I'll take care of this, and I did this, and I did that, and I'm thinking, well, I'm over that. I don't have to worry about that anymore. But something came along and triggered that thought back. Now, those are the negative thoughts you might be having. It could be of depression or insecurities. It could be maybe you had a bad attitude. Is that bad attitude coming back? Is something triggering that? Or even things that were said. Remember, we talked last week about the hand-me-downs, about what your heritage was, your inheritance, the bloodline. We spoke about that. And you know you've reached your limit when there seems to be no way out. But as we feel there is no way out, because it's like it says in Ephesians 6. Let's go to Ephesians 6. And we're going to look at verse 12. Verse 12 says, we are not wrestling with flesh and blood. See, David was wrestling with flesh and blood. The Philistines were people. So he was comfortable with that. But now with the mindset thing, we're not wrestling with flesh and blood. We're wrestling against principalities, powers, and against the rulers of darkness of the world, and against spiritual wickedness. That means we're fighting something altogether different, because everything that we're fighting in our mind is negativity. It's evil. It's anything that's opposed to the word of God. We read the word, but then stuff plays in our minds and we get off track. And that's not what we want to do. And the devil will come at you in so many different ways. All the devil wants to do is make us believe that we'll never make it. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. But let's see, Ephesians 16, I wanted to read that, because even though you're hearing from the devil like we are, but the point is, I'm having a problem here. The point is, oh my goodness, the point is, we are supposed to say to ourselves, and this is the mental mindset we have to have. We have to say, above all things, take the shield of faith so that you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. All the fiery darts. That could mean a whole lot of things, because so in this day and age, we have so much evil and so much wicked stuff going on. We see it every day in our everyday living. We see horrible things going on day after day, even in the news. We hear about it, how they're mistreating so many people all across the country, all across the world. So, I mean, the devil is never busy, never not busy. He's always busy, but he's always busy trying to discourage us. I'll put it that way. So that's why it says, above all, put on the shield of faith. You've got to have faith. You've got to trust. You've got to believe. And we talk about that all the time. That simply means we have to continue doing what we're doing. And we talk about it all the time. You can't stop praying. You can't stop asking God for his protection. You've got to continue to read the word. You've got to trust him. You've got to believe in him and his word. That's what David did. He went before Goliath with no fear at all, because he had the faith that we need to have today. There is nothing, and absolutely nothing, that affects us that God can't take care of. I'm a classic example of that. I'm always telling you things that happened to me and how I came out, even though it was a bad situation. Now, it's true that God may allow things to happen to us, but because we could learn a powerful lesson from bad circumstances. So sometimes maybe he does permit us to have hard times, but it's not because he's trying to punish us. It's not because he's mad at us. It's because we can learn from our bad situations. So even though it's a bad circumstance, it would still be using it for our good. I went through all those years asking, how long, how long, how long? Just give me strength to get through this day by day. That's how we live. You can't live but one day at a time. You can't do that, because we only get one day at a time. So we've got to work through each day, but we need to continue to read the word to build up our faith. So when we have these hard times or bad circumstances, we know because, like I said, there is nothing that affects us that God can't take care of. And my closing words for today are never forget, nothing is more powerful than prayer, nothing is stronger than faith, and nothing is greater than God. And until next week, I'm Lelia Lewis. Thanks for joining me.